Somehow I feel like 2018 literally just passed me by. I don't know where this year went, but it's been one of the craziest up and down years of my life. Today I'm going to share it with you. I won't lie, I'm kind of doing this for selfish reasons because 2018 marked the first year that I was completely self-employed, all down to me, and I don't know, it kind of worked and it kind of didn't. I now know how I can improve, but it's really easy when you're self-employed, particularly when you're an actor, to feel like you don't do much. When in actual fact, if I look back, I've done loads this year. I've accomplished loads of things and I need to stop beating myself up. So this is a message to me to stop beating myself up. I've done loads! Let's backtrack on that first one. I have been completely self-employed this year. I have supported myself through an entire year. I've never been so pleased that I keep such detailed diaries because now I can look back and actually go, okay, well at the start of the year I did this. And I suppose the first really monumental thing that happened to me this year was that I got asked to go to China. According to this, I got asked in February. Now, February was a very interesting time. I'd just come off the back of like panto season over Christmas when I was balling, and then everything kind of stopped and I was doing all these tiny little jobs. I was panicking a bit. So what happened is that I threw myself into absolutely everything, and next year, Rachel, do not do this. Because what happened is that I ended up with so many commitments that when something that I was really interested in, China, came along, I had to say no. And I was gutted. And I remember being really frustrated by this because I felt like I was being punished for thinking ahead. This year has been a constant battle between me having consistent work and being able to take work as it comes. I've almost been too proactive at certain points in the year. Now that's not to knock some of these smaller jobs, like I've done some really cool things and some firsts for me as well. I did my first modelling job, which involved me wearing these gorgeous dresses and being bombarded with food. I ended up with these big bags of spaghetti on me and things being thrown at me, and it was all very crazy, but it was so much fun and I loved it. I also did my first vocals on a musical. It was only a short little film musical. I was really privileged to be a part of that. Then I found out that even though I couldn't go, my fiance, who I got engaged to last October, could go to China. He went off to China, he had a lovely time. But meanwhile, back in little old England, I got accepted onto the National Youth Film Academy. Now I have various thoughts on this. At the time I was absolutely thrilled, but when I weigh up the pros and cons of it, it's not a very together course at the moment. It's still quite a new course and there's some hiccups. Yeah. In the background of all of this stuff, I felt like I needed a nice solid go-to, but I did not want to go back to my bar job. I lasted a month at a bar job back in October of 2017 and I hated every minute of it. So I wanted something flexible that I was in control of, that I could move the dates of, so I became an online tutor and that's been working out really well for me. Along a similar vein, I also became a cover teacher for Make Believe, so I did a lot of acting classes. They seemed to have a teacher that never showed up, so I was basically their teacher for half a year. Then around March time, I threw myself into another course. This year has been full of courses. Bit crazy on the learning side, but I came out of uni and I felt like I wasn't really ready for life. I booked loads of courses and this one was a TV presenting course. It was at Pinewood, which is one of my favourite places. There's always such a good vibe at Pinewood Studios. We did interviewing and straight presenting, so yeah, that was a good use of my time. That's one that I did enjoy and I have utilised since. Later in March, me and my friend from university did our showreel scene, which is something we'd wanted to do for ages, and originally we were really happy. I would recommend Chris Stone to anybody. The only issue is that we did it very early in our screen careers. I sound so official, I'm not official at all. But basically it was kind of the first legit piece of film that we'd done. We've both done quite a bit since and we've both done a course on it since. But at that point we probably should have left it until after the course, because now I look back on it and I have improved so much. But this is the thing that I'm supposed to be sending out to all the agents and yeah. Around a similar time, I found myself falling into radio a lot. I had my own weekly segment for 3 hours on a radio in London, and I really did enjoy it, and it's a skill that I would love to put to use again. The only problem was, number one, the travel. It was in a very awkward place in London. Like, there's certain places in London that I can literally get to so easy, one train, 20 minutes, boom. But this was not one of those places. This was a very long drive for me, and I hate driving in London. I don't recommend it. And it is my own fault for not really thinking ahead, but as you can tell from the rest of this stuff, I flip between thinking too far ahead and not thinking ahead at all, and this was one of the times where I did not think ahead at all. So because of travel, and if I'm honest, the music, it was no reflection on anybody else on the station, but my specific segment, I found it quite difficult to get passionate about what I was playing, and I didn't think that that was very fair to the station or the listeners or me, having to talk for up to 4 minutes about subjects that I wasn't really that interested in. So that didn't last very long, unfortunately. That lasted, I want to say, about 2.5 months, but you live and learn. At this point as well, I realised that all of the small jobs that I was getting myself, so I ditched my agent. I was now under the care of National Youth Film Academy, which don't take any commission, which is great because, as I said, I was getting all the work anyway, so I didn't see why I should be paying my agent when I was getting the work. So that happened. Then I did about a month at Whipsnade Zoo as their kind of resident wildlife superheroes, effectively, and I was your main gal, Captain Z, saving the world from pollution. So that was actually really entertaining. I really enjoyed that. We did a whole media campaign for it, and I was a walk around character in the park. I got loads of fun interaction with children, which took me back to my Disney days, which, if you know me, I will always try and recapture some of that magic. The only downside to that job was that when I got the costume, and even the staff that were working with me, when I first turned up in the costume, they were like, you are going to roast. Remember, this was one of the hottest summers that we've had in England, and they'd padded like fake muscles on because, you know, I'm not fat, but like, I'm not superhero build, so they gave me fake muscles effectively, and what it meant was that I was basically walking around in a duvet in like 32-degree heat. And then at certain points in the day as well, I was in a marquee for like a meet and greet, so I roasted. Like, I thought I was going to pass out on multiple occasions, so yeah, that wasn't great. So yeah, I really enjoyed being the resident superhero. They did ask me back for another season, like the following season, but I did have some other things that came up that I will get into in a bit that prevented me from taking that, but I really enjoyed my time there. It was solid. I was in a band again, really briefly, but again, because of the same thing that stopped me doing superhero thing again, prevented me from going any further with the band. They were fine about it, they were really good. I'm now kind of in talks with the bass player about an acoustic band, so that's very exciting. But yeah, so the band was a very short-lived thing as well. Then me and Susie, my uni friend from earlier, we did a masterclass in screen acting at Pinewood Studios, and that was amazing. I would recommend that to so many people. It's expensive, but if you put everything into it, it's so worth it. Like, having all of these professionals and people so high up in the film industry telling you, no, you've got something special, it's really nice, and they give you so many good tips that I've used countless times since. And yeah, it's a really, really good thing, and you get so close to the people on there. It's just a shame that most of the people on my course were from all over the world, so it's very difficult to have a reunion, which is something I would love to have. The masterclass in screen acting was a 4-week course across the weekdays, and on the weekend of the 3rd week I did an e-series about safe driving for learner drivers, which was really, really good. It's one of my favourite shoots that I've been on. My little micro got to star in it. We kind of hid the dent because that wouldn't have looked good, having a dented car and an insurance thing, but it was fine. I really enjoyed that. I had a great co-star. I loved the director, the producer, like, oh, it was such a good team. And I really hope I can work with them again. They were really good. And then I had to actually miss the last day of Actors Studio, which was fine because everything was winding down, but it was for a very important reason. I've been asked back to China! So that evening I flew out 12 hours to Hong Kong and then over to Guangzhou in southern China. And I taught alongside my fiance, we taught musical theatre, and we make a good teacher pair. Showing the Chinese musical theatre is eye-opening because their only knowledge of musical theatre tends to be Andrew Lloyd Webber and Les Mis. So when you come in and you show them Hamilton, Dear Evan Hansen, Heathers, Be More Chill, like all of these more niche ones, but the ones that are relevant for their age, their minds are just blown. And they're such lovely children, they're so appreciative, and if I'm honest, I way prefer Chinese kids to English kids. They're so nice and they're so polite. There's definitely going to be some videos about my time in China because I've got so much to share. I knew the culture was going to be different, but I did not know to what extremes. Like, I was shocked out there for good reasons and bad reasons. So I will definitely be sharing some of my Chinese adventures with you. Now, less than a week after flying back from China, I did another course, which was the aforementioned National Youth Film Academy, which I've kind of said all I want to say on that. Of course, along the way this year, I've been lucky enough to spend loads of time with my pals. We've done meals, we've done shows, we've done theatre trips, day trips. I did a little mini staycay in a place called The Shed with some of my favourite people, and they've been so supportive this year. I don't know what I'm doing most of the time the next day. So them saying, you know, are you free at this point? If you are, great. If you're not, don't worry. And also with me being quite tight on funds, they've been really good at saying, you know what, why don't we just hang out at mine? I just want to spend time with you. And that's really important. Like, it's important to just talk to your friends about these things, because I quite easily could have come across as just not wanting to spend time with them, but that is totally not the case. I just had to say no to a few things because money is an issue. Like, they're in full-time employment and I'm not. One of my favourite little day things that I did was I took Alex for his birthday to Gordon Ramsay's restaurant and we did a cocktail making masterclass, and it was so good because it was literally the bartender and then us two, and it was for like over an hour. He was only supposed to spend an hour with us, but I think he liked us because we were enthusiastic and very drunk. He gave us a lot of alcohol, and because it's all tiny shots, you don't really realise how much alcohol you're having, and then you're like, hang on, I've had 20 different rums, all one after the other, and I can't walk. I'm a very cheap person. For me, a rum is a rum, but now I see that some rums are just superior. Coming into the winter, I got new headshots and I did 2 shows, which pretty much booked up my December. I was in a pantomime, as per, and I was also in just a straight play, so I really enjoyed that. I also enjoyed not having to tour around. Like, the panto was still a tour, but I did enjoy it with the straight play, it just being in the evenings. It's just a shame that they were so close together. I have a habit of doing this. So I literally, the last 2 shows of the panto were at 11 and 2 o'clock, and then in the evening I had the first show of the play. So as you can imagine, rehearsals were very close together and I avoided quite a few close shaves, shall we say. Now as we go into the new year, I'm feeling a lot more refreshed. I can see that actually I've done a lot this year and I'm really excited for what this year brings. Well, next year, 2019. Either way, I hope that you had a good 2018, and even if you didn't, the only way is up. Here's to a brilliant 2019. Thanks for watching. Bye!